Welcome to TechNOW. I'm your host, John Reid, also CEO of CATAAlliance. And we continue our advocacy today. Very important area, looking at government modernization. We're joined by Steve Woodward, the Managing Director, CEO of Cloud Perspectives. Steve is internationally known in terms of his expertise. And Steve, I guess the question is, cloud computing, a lot discussed. What are the benefits? And then why this campaign looking at Australia with the made to must model? So why don't you share with us a benefit statement on cloud computing?
Great. Thanks very much, John, for having me. So benefit statement in short is actually largely time to market and innovation. So cost reductions are potentially there, but quite often it's very tough to try to quantify accurately because unfortunately a lot of ICT spending is not very accurately accounted as it is today. So there are cost savings, but honestly the time to market and innovation aspects and considerations are very key.
And you're part of our advisory group to the Government of Canada, the Shared Services Canada Advisory Group. How are we doing in Canada in terms of adopting these new models based on what you've seen so far in these various discussions?
Yeah, honestly, Canada is definitely lagging. So the US has had cloud first for a number of years. A lot of their government organizations are already actually deploying and hosting cloud services and offering facilities right from software as a service down through infrastructure as a service. Some of the agencies in the US, such as agriculture, have even become FedRAMP accredited, which is a mandatory requirement for any organizations who want to actually sell cloud services to the US federal government.
So as a taxpayer, I sort of asked the question, why are we lagging? We used to be like #1 in terms of telecommunications. Are there, what sort of barriers, what's stopping us?
I think some of it's actually cultural. So I often explain that Canadians are cautious people. So while the US stock market goes up and down and fluctuates wildly, and the housing market likewise in the US fluctuates wildly, in Canada, we're kind of boring. So we're actually very flat and stable. So to that extent, the US market, for example, are very proud of being risk takers, failing fast, being innovative. Canadians are more cautious. So part of this is dealing with our culture. We're actually very cautious. A lot of the innovation from Canada is strangely enough actually being exported outside of Canada. There are a lot of great cloud-related companies in Canada. However, they actually sell and market their products to the US and internationally.
I've heard that refrain so many times. You mentioned the US, but in the same breath, we're going to be interviewing some experts from Australia, and they have adopted May to Must cloud computing and are actually showing great leadership. What do you think of that Australian model, and what do you think about its applicability to Canada?
The Australians have been at this with some successes and some failures actually for about the last 4 years. So they've got tremendous experience. In the US, in Australia, it's actually based and supported from their Department of Finance, are actually the instigators of their cloud first initiative. So obviously with a financial aspect, the dollars and the costs are a major consideration. What they started with was actually a very much a use cloud if it makes sense. Now it's a matter of you should be seriously looking at public cloud if it makes sense. At the same time, they do recognize that it is on each independent department/agency. It is their responsibility and mandate to perform due diligence and risk assessment to determine what types of clouds fit their specific business needs at the appropriate time. So it's not like it's a mandatory, you must use public cloud. It's a matter of, you should seriously look at it, guys. But look at the type of data that's being contained, the type of requirements there are, the type of facilities that are needed, and then basically make the best decisions for the quality of life of Australian citizens.
So they've, I want to use the word, stepped up the guidance. They haven't restricted people in terms of options, but they are very much in sync with the new business models, which tend to be cloud-based because of cost savings and other benefits. Now, let me ask you one last question. I'm going to give you, what's the best guidance that you would give to the federal government or provincial governments at this point in terms of modernization?
I think the key message that I still have for the governments is to actually simply try it. So the U.S. actually made a $10 million investment in the last couple of months with NIST, the National Institute of Standards for Technology, and their National Science Foundation to stand up sandboxes so that they could try and test and find out the exact experiences and quality of service. So in Canada, we really do need to try it as opposed to resisting it and trying to find reasons why not to do it. We actually just need to accept the fact it's here. There's definitely major benefits around cost, time to market, and innovation. Need to try it, gain experience, find out what works well, what doesn't work well.
So accept some failures, experimentation in sandboxes, and maybe see the growth of some world-class Canadian cloud companies as a result of changing that orientation.
Exactly.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for helping us advance the Made a Must Cloud Computing campaign. I think you've given some good guidance, and we appreciate the work that you're doing to advance Canada as an innovation nation.
Great. Thanks very much, John. Appreciate it.